My name is Rick Riss. I'm an analyst at ARC. I cover a number of different technologies for ARC. Had a lot of work in refining chemicals, a lot of stuff in renewables and utilities and system integrators, and some experience with drones, but not nearly as much experience as my speakers have. But I will give you a few tidbits of information about drone marketplace, where the trends are in drones, and it's a very unique and interesting marketplace. So first of all, worldwide market for drones is in the range of $100 billion per year. It has a growth rate of 16% CAGR. Some sections of the drone industry are much higher than 16%, but on average, this includes airframes, components, software, and services. One of the, some of the obstacles to further use of drones is obviously regulations, and it rightfully so is an obstacle. And drones obviously are of great concern. You've heard of the issues at Gatwick Airport, 46 drone sightings, but no photographs. All right. There was purportedly drones flying around airfields. Obviously, they are dangerous. Ingested in an engine could take down a plane. So there's regulations. The regulations are associated with the risk the drone might propose and the weight of the drone. Some FAA, U.S. regulations, FAA may give you an exemption to fly a drone. Those generally are done in very rural areas, and they're not handed out easily. Another limiting factor for drones is the air traffic control system does not accommodate drones. The current manned aircraft regulation system is a little bit on the obsolete side, some people think. You're tracked by radar. You're handed off from one tower to the next tower manually to keep an eye on that plane in the U.S. airspace. The number of drones, however, far exceed the number of commercial and amateur airline pilots. And most of the drone operators are hobbyists and not even really licensed for commercial applications. So this it was always very curious to me how the drone market would evolve and where drones would find applications, at least in the industrial and commercial sections. This, by the way, excludes hobby drones, and it excludes drones used for racing. There's quite a fan base of drone racing activities, and that's actually really good for the drone market because they smash them up and have to buy new ones. And you ought to see how fast these drones go. I mean, they're 100 miles an hour, whatever. So ARC is actually executing a study currently for drones in the construction industry. So we were just about ready to publish that study here in a short while. I know that it's kind of into editing right now, and I was involved in reviewing that. It's not a study that I did, but the construction industry is very keen on drones. This could be especially large construction projects, mining, bridges, roads, but even commercial buildings. Very, very handy to have daily, weekly, periodic updates on the status of the construction project. And there's a lot of suppliers that can provide that turnkey. Another very popular thing is farming, all right? Apparently all the farmers, when they went to the auctions and brought their product to market, started talking with each other. And when one guy started using drones, and he had some drone service company come in and run up and down his farm in some pre-programmed manner and use typically ultraviolet cameras to monitor plant health. And he did that every couple of weeks, and then he figured out that he could adjust his fertilizer, adjust his water, identify which plants were sick, which ones were healthy, and then by taking more drone flights a week or two later after he watered and insecticided and fertilized, he could see the results of that and the effectiveness of his actions. And all of that data together really gave some farmers a competitive advantage. So that means all the other farmers who didn't have drones had to have one, all right? So things like that catch on. You can imagine fire and police, insurance, offshore oil, news, real estate, all of these other markets. Some may not be as big. Everybody imagines that utilities are doing all their transmission lines and all the pipelines, but there's actually still some problems because without special permit, you're not allowed to go beyond line of sight. You're not allowed to fly at night. Some of those regulations are, however, changing. Another big market in the drone is the anti-drone market. That's why nobody's flying their drones today, because they know we have counter provisions in this room. But obviously drone detection, some of that's by sound. You could imagine that at the Super Bowl or any road race or soccer game that suddenly the security precautions have to take into consideration that a drone might disrupt that game. A lot of different, obviously detecting drones in the first place. Geofencing, jamming, drone versus drone. My drone's bigger than yours, can capture, maybe it's faster. You could have projectile weapons like a shotgun seem to work pretty good. Laser, high energy lasers, and even eagles, But not everybody has an eagle. But nevertheless, there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes in major sporting events that you probably didn't see. So here's some of the trends. GoPro started to compete, but DJI just dominates the drone industry for small quadcopter drones, at least at the amateur level and even into the small professional level. DJI, just very hard for companies like GoPro to compete. Obviously, regulations. Drone delivery has a distinct business case that is not yet part of the substantial drone market. There's very few drone deliveries today. Another thing driving the drone market is the technology in cameras. You have 4K cameras, tiny little cameras with super powerful capabilities. You also have a technology like being able to combine a series of photographs to build a 3D model. So you can go around industrial facilities, take a number of photos, and those photos in some cases, they just store the photos as JPEGs and as needed, generate a 3D model. Or in other cases, they take those photos and make a 3D model and save it with a 3D model file format. And there's it's like 50 different 3D file formats. There's a lot of software out there. You can thank the video game industry for those 3D file formats, because that's where the big development money is gone. Obviously improves collision avoidance, robotics, sampling, sensing. There are a few outfits that are doing hydrogen fuel cells, and of course some drones will have fossil propulsion. And then there's also the possibility of human payloads. We remember this one, all right? So this vehicle had very good specifications, and so far it hasn't actually ever been exceeded. So 7,500 miles per hour, I think, was the quoted speed for this particular drone. And but there are a number of other companies. This is a European drone called Lilium. This is basically, I think it's about 180-mile range, 180 miles an hour. You can fly it home, vertical takeoff and landing, plug it into your house, especially if you have solar panels. You don't need a car anymore. So I want to show you this video. I think I'm going to have you guys from the AV see if you can launch this. This is, before you launch it though, let me give a little explanation. Uber, how many people drove here in a vehicle? Probably everybody, right? How many people drove here in a drone? Nobody, right? I'm pretty sure there's nobody, right? But Uber had a summit in 2017 where they have a division of Uber called Uber Elevate, all right? And Uber Elevate is really about air taxi service, all right? And air taxi service is a business model that Uber has that says that, obviously Uber is very interested in self-driving cars, so they could get rid of the very expensive driver of those cars. But even more so, the business model for an air taxi also depends on what they would call certifiable autonomous behavior of a drone. They need to be able to create a drone that's certifiable to the FAA, can fly, and is autonomous. And so those are things that just don't exist today. You know, all the commercial airlines you're flying today normally need a pilot. Although there are a number of military helicopters that require a total of 15 minutes of training to fly. And you call that on your little tablet. It comes and picks you up, and you can tell it where to go. And after 15 minutes, you can effectively fly a helicopter. Right? Now, obviously, that came with a lot of automation. And you could learn how to fly a drone very quickly as well. In 2017, they made a little competition of who was going to build the drone for Uber Elevate, and the winner of that contract was Aurora Flight Sciences, and so they said, Aurora, this is the drone we think we want you to build. Roughly 2 to 5 people, roughly 40-mile typical flight time. The idea would be that congested cities like Los Angeles would be a good market for drones, and Uber thinks that they could provide a drone service that would be cheaper than owning a car, even though you take a flight air taxi every day. All right? They could imagine that each station where you could hop on an air taxi might have 100 takeoff and landings every hour, and you multiply that by hundreds of locations throughout Los Angeles area, and you can see there's a lot of air traffic in there. In fact, there would be more air traffic in the city of Los Angeles than all the air traffic currently in the United States. And if every city did this, this is a large amount of autonomy, all right? So you could imagine that they don't want to crash into each other. In any event, let's see if we can play this video. This is the Aurora Flight Sciences prototype drone that was just tested a few weeks ago. And by the way, Aurora Flight Sciences is quite an amazing organization. They recently have been purchased by Boeing. And there are 16 different companies developing air taxis right now. I mean, not small companies. You know, Airbus and Boeing are not small. We don't have any sound here, but they tried to make this one very simple. They didn't want tilt rotors. The idea is you should be able to just hop in. I know that United Arab Emirates, and I think in the Dubai airport, wanted to offer a taxi service so that when you came out of baggage claim, you could just pick up your bags, hop in a drone, press one of 3 hotels, and with no help at all, be delivered to your hotel. We still moving on this? Seems like it's stalled. But anyway, this is kind of a typical drone, and you could park this in your garage. Would it fit? Right? But you can park it outside. Right? I think a lot of you might be a little bit hesitant to be the first one on one of these drones, but it would seem to be one heck of a market, and the business plan that Uber has put together says this is a way to make money. So these are some of the future possibilities for very high growth rates. And obviously, you know, Amazon and Federal Express and, you know, UPS are very, very interested in delivering packages much faster, and the customers are very interested in receiving their packages, even if it is your aunt. All right. All right, that's all I have for today. So